All right, first episode. Thank you all for showing up here. Now, what are we going to do today? Spaghetti. All right. So the way that I'm going to handle spaghetti is going to be 3 ingredients: pasta, sauce, and Parmesan cheese. That last one may have some quotations around it because for at least one category, I'm pretty sure we're not going to use real Parmesan cheese. Super simple, basic recipe to start with, so let's go. Alright y'all, so this part was pretty simple. I went to the H-E-B nearest my house, got the cheapest spaghetti I could find, got the cheapest spaghetti sauce I could find, and for the Parmesan cheese, I went for this stuff that we're all familiar with in the plastic container. So here we got Skinner spaghetti. I've actually never heard of this brand, but it was very, very cheap. And then we have Hill Country Fare pasta sauce. Oh, hello. Hi, Hudson. Hi. Would you... Sorry, if y'all can see this, he's right here. Hi. Hello. We have Hill Country Fare pasta sauce. If you're not familiar with Hill Country Fare, it's basically the Great Value equivalent of H-E-B. It's the very, very affordable brand of everything. And then finally, we have the H-E-B grated Parmesan cheese. I wanted to go for this. We all grew up with this. We've all gotten this whenever we get like delivery pizza. This is what we're gonna use for our Parmesan cheese. All in all, everything here costs $6.29. So that's pretty affordable if you ask me. All right, y'all, so this is how this setup is gonna work. I've got my nice camera over here. It's gonna be recording me from this angle so you can see my lovely face. And I've got my GoPro over here that's gonna be focused more on what's happening on the stove. I've got my pot of water heating up. As soon as it gets to a boil, I'll throw in the spaghetti. I'm not gonna make the whole package. I'm just cooking for myself. I'll probably use maybe about a quarter of it, enough to try 1 small plate, plus maybe 2 variations to see if there's something I can add to improve upon it. All right, I got my pot of water boiling. I'm gonna add my pasta. Only about this much, by the way. Also, I forgot to mention that this water is salted, so this should taste pretty nice. There we go. We got that submerged, and we'll just keep on stirring it until it's done. We're not gonna add the whole thing because, like I said, we're just feeding me. And this should take almost no time at all to heat up. Ooh, yeah, okay. Guard yourself. All right, so my sauce is actually starting to bubble and my pasta's not done yet. I'll see if I can bring the GoPro around and you can see. Yeah, this thing is definitely hot. It's definitely ready. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna go ahead and turn off the heat. I'm gonna put a lid on it and we're gonna keep that until it's ready. Okay, so we're getting pretty close to our pasta being done. I'm gonna start checking to see whether it's al dente right now. Just get a little bit of a forkful of it. Let it sort of cool down in the air, blow on it. And then this is what I do. I try to go ahead and grab one of the strings on the outside, let the others go, and then I'll go ahead and try this. Okay, a few more minutes, but it's getting there. Okay, our pasta is ready. I'm gonna go ahead and turn off the heat. Get these 2 mitts on, and then I'm gonna go drain this in the sink in a colander. I need to keep the pasta warm because I'm gonna try some variations. So I'm gonna take it from the colander and back into this pot, but I'm gonna take it off the heat and I'm gonna cover it. All right, y'all, we are ready to go. Let's plate this up. We'll just go ahead, oh, spilled some. Just go ahead and plate that right on top. Small little serving of spaghetti. I'm gonna go ahead and add my Parmesan cheese. Ooh, sprinkle it from higher up. Kind of get that more evenly distributed. Now, let's go ahead and try this out. There's a good amount of sweetness to the tomatoes, although I don't know if that's coming from the tomatoes or maybe some added sugar. It's definitely acidic, which is not bad. It's got a nice brightness. It's got a good amount of that tomatoey flavor. Not a whole lot of herbal flavor, though. I kind of wish some of the stronger herbs, like there might be some oregano in here, there might be some basil. I'm not picking up a whole lot of that. The cheese is good, although it kind of, It's got a weird kind of mixture with the rest of the tomato sauce. It's not bad. It's not my favorite thing. Tomato sauce has a nice flavor. It's got that nice umami-ness and it's lingering. It's definitely lingering on my tongue. I'm not gonna have any problems finishing this. This is good. I would eat this any day of the week. I wanna see if I can slightly improve the taste of what I just ate. I have a little bit of spaghetti that is left over. I didn't finish the whole plate. I'm gonna try and add some Italian seasoning to that. And then I'm gonna serve 2 smaller plates and I'm gonna add olive oil, really cheap olive oil. I'll show you. More Hill Country Fare branded stuff. We're gonna add a little bit of olive oil to 1 plate. And then with the 3rd plate, we're gonna add just a tiny little bit of unsalted butter. All right, y'all, so this is the same plate that I just ate, but I added a little bit of Italian seasoning to it. Let's see if that adds a little bit more herb flavor to it that I wish was there before. Okay, that's nice. I think I should have added a little more. In fact, I'm gonna add a little more. Let's go for it. Let's really go for it. Oh God, please. One-handed. Okay, please don't be too much. Don't screw me over on this. Oh, okay, that's enough. Whew. It doesn't stand out too much, but it does have a little bit more depth. And if I was making this on my own, I would add a little bit more of that Italian seasoning to the sauce. So, improved, not greatly, but improved. Now, I've got this one right here. This is a micro serving of spaghetti. It's so small. I've added a small amount of melted butter, unsalted butter, to the spaghetti before I put the sauce on it. Okay. If there's extra dimension here, it's so subtle, I don't even know if I could tell. Melted butter. Okay, yeah, no, I can taste the butter now. It's definitely coming in on the finish. Not really adding that much. I don't even know if that flavor is really welcome here. So melted butter, not a no-go. Another little micro serving. This one I've added some olive oil to. Okay. Ooh. Okay. Oh. That comes on strong. That's good. I mean, I think I should have pulled back just a bit, but that's good. And granted, I used a cheap olive oil. I used this tiny little bottle of Hill Country Fare olive oil because everything here needs to be cheap. There's a chance this may not be real olive oil. I understand that risk. If you didn't know that existed, go Google it. It's a real thing. But there's enough perceived olive oil flavor to stand out in this that I think that this variation is superior. So if there's one thing that we did amongst our cheap ingredients to improve what we made, olive oil. Highly recommend. Okay, so I'm looking up what people think is the best pre-made spaghetti sauce. I'm getting a lot of hits that say Rao's spaghetti sauce. It seems like that's the one that I'm seeing the most. Let me take a look here. Yeah, I mean, a number of food blogs are saying Rao's. Even Reddit is saying Rao's, which, wow, okay. When Reddit and the rest of the world align on some kind of opinion, that is like more rare than the planets in our solar system aligning. And then for the pasta, I see a number of people saying different things. Rao's is coming up as top of the list as well. I think I've actually tried Rao's spaghetti and it was pretty good. I'm seeing a couple different things though as number one. Ooh, okay. Here's one from Tasting Table. I'm gonna butcher this. I'm sorry. Pastificio di Martino. Man, okay. That packaging alone, that is super fancy. That is, I'm gonna pick this one only for the packaging. That if I bought that, that would make me feel bougie. I want that. Okay, that's our spaghetti. And then for the cheese, I think we're just gonna make sure that we get real Parmigiano Reggiano this time, which I know exactly where to go to get that. So let's go. All right, y'all, I'm parked in front of one of the grocery stores where I'm gonna get these premium ingredients. One thing I wanted to clarify about the fast and good category. I'm going to try and get all the ingredients I need in 2 grocery store visits or less. What I mean by that is if I can't get everything in 1 grocery store visit, I'll go to a different grocery store nearby, ideally that's like a big premium brand, and try to get whatever I couldn't find at the other one. But if I can't find everything in those 2 visits, then I'm just gonna kind of get what's available. The reason for this is that if I need to drive all over town to get the best ingredient in every category, I would argue that we're not being fast anymore. Whatever time that we would save by not making those ingredients by hand, we're just spending that time driving, and that's not the point. So, 2 grocery store visits or less. And one final caveat. If I can't find any of the things that I researched at home, like they don't have any of the things that I looked up that were the best, then I'm just gonna grab whatever looks good. If something costs more, like if what's available, if what looks premium costs more, it should, in theory, taste better. And if it doesn't taste better, then that's good data for this experiment, right? It means that money may not matter all that much in making this dish. So, let's go do what we need to do. All right, y'all, so for this trip, I went to my favorite place in the whole world, Central Market. This place is awesome. It's like Whole Foods, but a billion times better. They had a Portugal-themed event when I went shopping there, and it was awesome. Also, they make the tortillas fresh here. That's right, fresh. You wanna know how I know they're fresh? When I put my hand underneath the pack, it was warm. This is the real deal, y'all. If you live in Texas and you still shop at Whole Foods, stop doing that. Stop giving Jeff Bezos your money. Jeff Bezos never made you fresh tortillas, did he? Did he? Did he? All right, back to pasta shopping. I bought my fancy schmancy pasta that I found online, and then for the cheese, I went to this wonderful corner of the store, which smelled amazing, and I got real Parmigiano Reggiano cheese. Now for the marinara, I was actually surprised that I could not find Rao's here. I found every other fancy brand except Rao's. I had to go to a nearby H-E-B, and sure enough, when I went down the aisles, I found it, Rao's Marinara. And with that, our fancy schmancy shopping trip is complete. All right, y'all, so we got Rao's Marinara. I am really excited to try this. So many people said this was on the top of their list, so I'm really looking forward to that. And then I got this. I mean, y'all, look at this. I wish I could, if I show it up close, it's out of focus, but like, this is so pretty. Like, even my dog has come here to see how pretty this spaghetti is. Yeah, hi, Hudson. I almost don't want to open this. This is so pretty, but I'm really looking forward to eating that too. And then this right here. Oh. Funky, nutty. This is gonna be my favorite. I love aged cheese. This thing, I mean, it's dense. It's like a brick. Oh, I'm so looking forward to this. Also, I put everything away and forgot to do this, but our total was pretty up there. Things were pricey. 2 grocery stores that I went to. So Central Market was $12.95 for our Parmigiano Reggiano and our spaghetti, and then H-E-B for our Rao's, gotta make sure I pronounce that right, was $6.88. So that brings us to a total of $19.83. All right, that is more than 3 times as expensive as our cheap batch. So yeah, not cheap, but I hope it tastes amazing. Now I've got my very, very fancy spaghetti right here. This one cooks even faster. This one only takes 8 minutes to become al dente. So we're gonna have spaghetti real quick. So real quick, right off the bat, I can see that this spaghetti pasta is very different. It's got kind of a rough feel to it. I don't know if you can see that in this camera. I mean, I can try to get it really, really close, but it feels rough in my hands. It has a lighter color. I'm really excited. I'm really excited to see how this turns out. So here we go. Okay, that barely took any time at all to cook down. That was incredibly quick. And the water, I don't know if you can see it, but the water is actually getting cloudy, which did not happen with the other batch. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and set a timer and we will have this done shortly. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and add my Rouse marinara sauce to this pot. Not gonna add too much because like I said, I'm just cooking for me. Aha. I'm better this time. Didn't have so much splashing. Oh, okay, also, it smells amazing. I think I'm in for a treat. This smells, I'm so excited. I'm so excited, y'all. This is the best. I wish I could be this bougie all the time. All right, my pasta sauce is hot. I'm gonna go ahead and take it off the heat, set it aside, cover, and that's perfect timing because I need to start checking on this because I'm pretty sure it's almost done. I also want to take a good note of how this tastes because this is notably more expensive pasta. That's definitely done. That's done. I'm gonna go ahead, or like another 30 seconds, but that's done. Okay, it's got a nice chew. That's one of the first things I notice about it. It has better texture than the other pasta. It didn't absorb as much salt as the other pasta, so it's a little bit more mellow. And the flavor might be a little bit more bready, not by much, but by some. But the chew is really good. That's my favorite thing about it. Oven mitts on. Ooh, yeah, that does have a bready flavor. Oven mitts on. Drain the pasta. We are not going to do any variations on this dish this time. We paid a lot of money for all these ingredients. We want to make sure that all the flavors of them come through with no other additions at all. So, we've only got one plate we're going to use today. All right, y'all, we have a lovely plate there. Now we got to put our sauce on top. Get a big spoonful, might make a mess, but so what? Take a look at that. Let's put some cheese on it. All right, we got our cheese grater. We got our Parmigiano Reggiano. Let's shave it. We are good to go. Oh my God, y'all, look at this. Look at how amazing that is. I'm gonna bring this as close as I can to the camera. I know it's out of focus, but like, look at it, y'all. Oh, it's so amazing. All right, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to eat. Let's do it. I made a goof. I started recording video before I started recording on my mic. So I already took the first bite, but I'm gonna do it all over again. The Parmesan cheese blends in so well. It doesn't clash with the sauce like the other one does. The spaghetti, the pasta itself, this is kind of the one that's getting lost the most. Obviously because it's covered in ingredients that are going to overpower the taste that exists. But it does have a really good chew. I like the chew. I would have actually preferred it to be a little bit tougher than this, but it's still really good. And then the sauce is notably less acidic. Depending on who you are, may or may not be your thing. It's more mellow. It's not lingering as long, which I think is the intent of making a sauce like this. I actually think the intent is to make something that's less acidic, less overpowering. This is really good. Is it noticeably better than what we made for the cheap and fast category? I think that depends on who you are. I can see a lot of value in that cheap and fast pasta, right? If you're used to those kind of flavors and if that's your idea of spaghetti in your mind, I can totally understand why you'd gravitate towards that. This, I feel like, is more authentic and more close to what someone who perhaps grew up in an Italian family would be used to and what they would cook and what they would serve. But if I'm just being honest, is it worth paying 20 bucks? I'm not quite sure. I'm gonna go crazy. I want more cheese. I love cheese. I love aged cheese. I want all the cheese. Give me all the cheese. Maybe I won't spend a ton of money on this or a ton of money on this very fancy spaghetti pasta, but I'll spend God knows how much money on that. This right here, this is a brick of solid gold. Solid, chewy, aged, mature gold. And I will drain my wallet happily to get more of it. Any day. All right, y'all. I just finished eating my spaghetti. And I gotta say, after shoveling mouthfuls of spaghetti in my mouth for like the past 2 minutes, I think I'm coming around. Once I put more cheese on it And once I tasted what the cheese did to the dish, and then as I kept eating, I think I get it. I think I understand why someone would pay this much money for this kind of dish. The tomato sauce being less overpowering than the cheaper sauce means that I could keep eating more of it without getting, if this makes any sense, without getting a sense of fatigue from that strong tomatoey umami flavor that just like lingers for so long. I was able to get a mouthful, process it, and then when I went for my next mouthful, I felt like my taste buds already had a moment to chill so that I could taste the next bite. I think that's really what it is. When you are using the cheaper ingredients, every mouthful kind of feels the same because the taste is lingering so long. For this, it just felt like, man, every time I was taking a bite, I was getting a hit of dopamine. I get it. Would I still end up paying so much money? I would say no, if only because we're going to move on to our next category. I guess I should say our next two categories, where I'm going to try and make some of this myself. But if I was trying to make spaghetti that was meant to impress, absolutely, I would pay this much money without question. So, final thoughts for y'all. I hope this was eye-opening for you. He's been giving me the eyeballs all day. My dog loves cheese. I think he specifically likes aged cheese, so he's gonna have to get some. Yeah, there you go, buddy. All right, you ready? All right, but you're gonna have to sit. You're gonna have to sit. Sit. Good boy, Hudson. Go down. Down. Yeah, all the way. Good boy. There you go. So for the good and cheap category, this is where I'm going to have to start making components from scratch. And I've decided that I'm going to make the spaghetti sauce from scratch. Now, some people might be asking why I'm not going to make the spaghetti pasta from scratch. And this is where I'm going to bring up a rule for the good and cheap category. I am not going to use any kind of overly specialized equipment for the good and cheap category. Yes, if I made the spaghetti pasta from scratch, it would probably be, I'm trying to think of this off the top of my head, but it would be flour, eggs, olive oil, salt, and water, I believe. It would be very, very cheap to make. However, in order to make the spaghetti pasta, you need a pasta cutter. Now, you can get a hand crank pasta cutter off Amazon for $50, but for the average everyday person, that may be $50 they spend on that device that they never use again. The goal of Cheap and Good is to use equipment that can be ideally found in every kitchen and has more than one purpose. So I'm looking up different spaghetti sauce recipes, and I found one from food.com that I feel is pretty good. I like it a lot. It's very simple. These are the ingredients. I'll put them over on this side. You know what? I have most of these already. I think the only thing that I don't have here is the tomatoes. And I'm going to pick up an onion. I think that's missing from this list. So this is a little bit tricky because I already have everything except tomatoes and onion. So figuring out the price of this is going to be a little bit tricky, but I'll do my best. And then for the spaghetti pasta and the Parmesan cheese, I'm just going to reuse what I bought for the cheap and fast category. All right, y'all. This was eye-opening. So here is my onion, and here are my 4 Roma tomatoes for the recipe. These 2 ingredients, in total, cost me $1.87. Our cheap spaghetti sauce cost $1.62. So already the cost of these 2 ingredients is more expensive than our cheap jar of spaghetti sauce. This is crazy to me. And I want to be clear, I'm not going to criticize the taste of that cheap jar of spaghetti sauce because I understand that people are buying that kind of thing and using it to make food who are really strapped for cash, who are a lot less fortunate than I am. This is the cost for just the tomatoes and the onion. I already had garlic, right? If I was going to get garlic, I took a photo. If I was going to get garlic along with everything else, a bulb of garlic would have cost another 60 cents. And then this recipe also has olive oil, which a 17 fluid ounce bottle of cheap olive oil costs $5.18. And then if you don't have Italian seasoning, a little container of that costs $1.68. And then if you wanted to add, like in my case, I think this recipe could use a little bit of fennel seed. If you wanted to get fennel seed, a little tiny jar of that will cost $4.48. So if you were getting everything here up front, minus the sugar, the salt, and the black pepper, which I feel like everybody has to some degree, you're already shooting way past that cheap jar of spaghetti sauce. Now, I understand that when you get into the math of the cost per serving, yes, the cost of it does go down, and maybe in total, it's cheaper than that cheap jar of spaghetti sauce. But I'm not gonna lose myself in that math because people who are buying this spaghetti sauce, this cheap jar, and these cheap ingredients that are also fast, those are people who are more than likely struggling in a lot of ways, and their minds are not doing the math of cost per serving. They're just trying to buy things to make food for themselves in a way that allows them the time that they have, to make a meal for whoever they're trying to feed, whether it's themselves or other people. So yeah, this is really, really eye-opening for me. I thought that if I hustled really well, I could buy ingredients that in total were cheaper than the most generic brand of spaghetti sauce. But it may actually be the other way around. It may be so much more expensive to make your own. So this was a long tangent, but just to wrap it up, I'm going to make it a point to not criticize cheap brand name food items, right? Like that stuff is helping people live and it's giving them good food. And that's all we can really ask for in this day and age. All right, bringing it back to the recipe, I've got my tomatoes, I've got my onion, I've got garlic, and my cheap olive oil here, which I'll be using for the recipe. So let's get the sauce going. All right, y'all, so it's getting pretty late in the day. The last thing I'm gonna do today is make this spaghetti sauce, and then I'm gonna put it in the fridge for tomorrow's spaghetti. So my plan is I'm going to make the spaghetti sauce from scratch, and then when I make the full dish tomorrow, I'm gonna use the cheap spaghetti pasta from our cheap and fast category. And I'm also going to use the plastic container of grated Parmesan cheese. I know this might be giving some people some unpleasant emotions right now, but I'm trying to keep the cost under control. I'm trying to make something that is cheap and delicious. Will I be able to hit the highs of that super duper expensive meal? Maybe not, but I'm gonna try and make something that's really, really good. So let me explain what I have in front of me. I have 4 Roma tomatoes, and I'm using Roma tomatoes and not San Marzano tomatoes because San Marzano tomatoes are expensive where I live. It is cheaper to get Roma tomatoes, and I did a quick Google search and they said that Roma tomatoes are a decent alternative to use for San Marzanos because they have less acidity. We'll see whether or not that's true. I'm trying to go for that less acidic flavor like the one that was from that jar of Rao's marinara. I've also got 2 cloves of garlic, and then I've got this onion. This onion is not part of the recipe that I found online. I'm doing this because I want a little bit of onion flavor in my spaghetti sauce. I'm gonna quarter this onion, I'm gonna chop it up finely, and then I'm going to sweat it out in a frying pan with some olive oil, and then I'm gonna throw that in the spaghetti sauce mixture at the very end. I've also got our cheap Hill Country Fare olive oil. You can see it right there. This is what I'm gonna use in this bacon dish for this recipe. And then I have a mixture of salt, sugar, black pepper, and dried Italian herb seasoning right over here. And this is gonna go in our baking dish when we roast our tomatoes. All right, here we go. So the first step is to slice these tomatoes in half. I'm using my fancy Japanese nikiri here. And we're just gonna go ahead and slice that one down and do the same thing to the other 3. There we go. So we have our tomatoes done. Then we have our garlic. Always crush your garlic. There you go. We gotta mince this. We have to mince this garlic. All right, there we go. I got a bit of a rock chop going, although this garlic is definitely getting stuck to my knife. That is good enough. All right, so tomatoes have been chopped, garlic has been chopped. Now all of this is gonna go into this baking sheet here. Get a good amount in there. That's nice. That's enough. All right, and then we're just gonna kind of move that around. And then we are going to sprinkle our minced garlic as evenly as we can all over this baking sheet. Oh, smells amazing. I love garlic. I don't care if I have garlic breath. I'm single at the moment, but whoever I end up dating, she has to be comfortable with garlic breath. And if she's not, now we need to sprinkle the herbs, the sugar, the salt, the black pepper. We'll try to sprinkle that in from high up. If you sprinkle something from higher up, you get better distribution. And then the recipe says to put the tomatoes cut side down in the dish. Let's kind of give this one, there we go. All right, there we are. That looks so pretty. All right, so this is going in the oven for about 30 to 40 minutes, just until the skins of the tomatoes start to peel upwards. And then we're gonna take it out and take the skins off. All right, finally, last part of the process, we're gonna quarter and dice our onion. Actually, we're just gonna quarter the onion now. We're gonna dice it closer to when we have to cook it. So, knife, cut off the dirty root end, and then we'll cut it down the middle. There we go. But this one, you know what? A quarter actually is a bit too big, so I'm actually gonna use less. I'm gonna use 1/8 of an onion. So I'm just gonna go ahead and take this quarter of an onion, cut it down in half. This is what I will end up dicing, sweating, and then adding to my tomato sauce. All right, y'all, here we go. We got our tomatoes fresh out of the oven, piping hot. My God, that is a lot. So we need to wait for a little bit to let these cool so they're safe to handle. While they're cooling, I'm gonna go ahead and chop up my onion here. We're gonna go ahead and chop this up as fine as we can. Gonna try and do a claw method here, slowly making thin strips while being safe and trying not to cut myself. Okay, it's kind of falling apart there. So we'll make thin strips this way. This is not my favorite part of the process. I'm not a huge fan of chopping because again, I wish I had better knife skills when it comes to chopping. I wish I could make this whole process go by faster. I'll get there one day. And this is about the texture that I'm going for. I'll go ahead and show you right there. Yeah, because when I fry these down, they're gonna shrink up even more. And then when I throw it in with everything and mix it all together, the onion should hopefully kind of break down and blend together and mix all the flavors together without having any like noticeable chunky onion bits. All right, y'all, we got a cast iron skillet with some olive oil ready to go. Let's add our onions. And we'll just give them a little quick stir until they become translucent. All right, y'all, the onions are nice and translucent. We want to go ahead and take them off the heat because we don't want to brown them. And then we'll get a container for these so we can take them off the stove. All right, we'll just go ahead and add these onions to this bowl and hold on to those. All right, y'all, so we have our onions cooked down. Our tomatoes have cooled slightly. I don't know yet if they are safe to handle all the way, but I think we can go ahead and start taking the skins off of these. So let's go ahead and grab this one right here. Just kind of lift. Look at that. Barely any effort at all. All right, let's see if we can get the neck. Oh my gosh, so easy. Oh yeah, they're definitely still a little bit hot. A couple more minutes and then they should be completely safe to handle. The reason why I'm waiting for them to be safe to handle with my hands is because I want to see if I can make this sauce with my hands. You know, it's a great way to relieve some stress. And y'all, look at what we have here. Beautiful tomatoes, skins removed in olive oil, garlic, salt, and all kinds of goodness. So, just gonna go ahead and pour everything in here as it is. And I'm gonna scrape it down with my hands to make sure that we are getting as much in the bowl as we can. All right, I think that's about as much as I can get. Then I'm gonna add some of the onions, maybe about half, because I don't want to add too much. I want to make sure that I got a good amount. And then here comes the fun part. I'm just going to squeeze it with my hands. Do you see this? You see this? I mean, I can see how this could be therapeutic, though. This is pretty fun, just like squeezing it out, getting all your frustrations and all your anger out of the world, out through your hands. All right, let's just go ahead and let's focus on just making sauce. How about we do that? All right, y'all, I've been squeezing these tomatoes for the past 5 to 10 minutes or so. I feel like I've gotten the best consistency I can hope for. This tomato sauce is both chunky and also a little bit thin. I don't know if you can see that too well, but I think the consistency is definitely going to be a far cry away from the Rao's marinara sauce that I just had. I think if I want to make this the best that I can, I think my goal is going to be to try to make this into something completely different than that Rao sauce, kind of just make it its own thing and make it stand out for different reasons. Okay. Ooh, okay. That is definitely very sweet. I like that. There's no sugar in this. No, actually there is. There's a little bit of sugar, like 1/4 teaspoon. It's not a lot, but I feel like a lot of the sweetness from this is coming from the tomatoes, which is good. That's kind of what I was going for. I'm gonna blend this. I feel like a blender is not overly specialized equipment. I think I can count on a lot of people having a blender. So tomorrow I'm gonna blend this up and then I'm gonna heat it up over the stove and I'm gonna try to reduce it a little bit. So I'm gonna try and take some of this water content out and then we're gonna see what we end up with. But I think this is really good. I'm happy with this. So time to wrap it up for today, y'all. Let's see what tomorrow has in store for us. I think that my sauce is gonna be different from the Rao's marinara for sure. But I think that the lower acidity and the less overpowering taste that just lingers and lingers, I think that's on point. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna blend my homemade sauce in this blender. This is a Ninja blender. I'll bring the GoPro around. You'll see it is a fancier than normal blender, but I'm not using this blender to do anything super fancy, right? The toughest thing that this blender is blending is tomato flesh. So I feel like any old blender could work in anyone's house to do this same job. Also, my tomato sauce looks a lot less red. It's kind of like an orange color, which maybe for aesthetics is not quite so pleasing, but the flavor's nice. All right, making noise. Let's see, I don't know if y'all can see that in there. Yeah, you can definitely see the color, right? It's definitely not quite so red as regular marinara sauce. Let me try it. Let me see if blending changed the flavor at all. Nope, I would say it tastes the same as yesterday. I think I might add a little bit more salt to this though. I have the Rao's and the cheap sauce here. Let me do a little back and forth testing. We have over here on this side, this is the sauce that I made. This is homemade sauce. You can see just how less red it is from the others. This is the cheap sauce, the super cheap Hill Country Fare sauce. This is the Rao's marinara sauce, and you can see it is slightly less red than this sauce. So I think I'm on the right track, although I don't know if this will be able to compete with this. Here's my sauce. Nice and mellow, acidity, but not too much. And already my taste buds have kind of just cleansed that flavor away. Now here's cheap sauce. Ooh, okay. A lot more sugar, real heavy on that stereotypically tomatoey taste. Still there. I can taste it in the back of my mouth. And I mean, I want to make it clear, that's not bad. If that's what you're looking for, that's not bad. But I still taste it. Okay, now Rao's marinara. That one has a richness to it. And it's got let me try it again. Yeah, it's got this might be what happens when you use San Marzano tomatoes instead of Roma tomatoes, because it's got a tomatoey taste that doesn't taste like any kind of tomato I've ever had before. Maybe there is something to be said about going and getting San Marzano tomatoes. Now, they are expensive, so we can't use them for the good and cheap category. But maybe at the very end, for the final fourth category, maybe I'm gonna go out and find some, because I definitely think there's something unique there that you can't replicate with any other tomato. One final note, again, let me go ahead and bring the GoPro around. So this is how much yield I have on my sauce. This is how much yield I have left from the cheap sauce. So already you can see the point that I was trying to make yesterday. I paid more to make less sauce from scratch than the cheapest sauce that's out there. I know you hear it all the time, right? Processed food is cheaper than fresh food, but until you see it with your own two eyes, like, I don't know. I don't think it was real for me until I saw this. Like, it would cost so much more to make the same amount of sauce, the cheapest sauce. In any case, we know what we got to do, so let's move on. All right, so we've got our setup going here, but we're going to do things a little bit differently this time. Like I said, I want to reduce the tomato sauce by just a little bit. So my pot of salted water is not yet boiling. I'm going to use this time to go ahead and add our sauce to this pot, heat it up, get it cooking down, and then I'm just going to keep tasting it over time, adjusting as necessary. If it needs salt, I'll add some salt. If it needs more herbs, I'll add some of those too. When I feel like I'm satisfied with it, I'll go ahead and cover this, set it off to the side, and then make my pasta. All right, y'all, so I've been cooking my tomato sauce low and slow, and it is starting to thicken up a little bit. I'm stirring it often. I'm cooking it on the lowest heat that I possibly can. I'm gonna add just a little bit of salt to it, and then I think we're done. Gonna turn the heat off, stir that salt in, cover the lid, set it aside, and that's almost perfect timing because our water here is about to boil. All right, our sauce is ready. I have leftover Skinner pasta noodles here that you can see I've kept fresh as possible in this Ziploc bag. We're gonna cook those in this pot of water, take them out, assemble everything just as we did before. And also, because we're trying to keep things cheap, I am gonna use the plastic container of grated Parmesan cheese. We're gonna see what kind of flavor combinations we get here. I might have one variation for us, but these are the confines of the cheap category that we live in, and this is what we're gonna do, so let's get started. All right, we have our water boiling, and I'm gonna add my pasta, and real quick, I just wanna show you all one last time in front of the GoPro, just so you can see the color difference between this pasta and the more expensive one. We'll do like a side-by-side comparison. As I've been trying this pasta, I have noticed that the cheaper pasta absorbs salt more than the expensive one. I put the same amount of salt in every single pot, but I'm getting more salt flavor in these. Yeah, that is very noticeable. But that is done. Time to take that out and time to plate up our spaghetti. All right, y'all. I have my plate here with my spaghetti with sauce. I'm gonna go ahead and hold it up to the GoPro. And you can definitely see just how different the color is. It's a light orange. It is definitely not red, not at all. It's a small gripe. I do think that if I do this again, I'm gonna use San Marzano tomatoes to get more red color because the presentation leaves a lot to be desired. That said though, the flavor is really, really good. I'm not gonna lie, y'all. It does feel a little bit like blasphemy to put this type of cheese on this where I spent so much time, but this is for the research. I'm actually gonna leave some uncovered because I want to see what the taste is like with and without. Let's get a good amount of cheese on there. I still don't think that Parmesan cheese mixes well with it. It mixes okay with this, but it's still kind of weird. And it didn't mix well with the cheap sauce either. I'm not a fan of that. I understand it's what I grew up with. I understand it's what a lot of people grew up with. And you get it in every single pizza delivery. But it's just not my thing. I don't think I'm ever going to get a jar of that ever again. I do want to do something else. I'm going to put that down because I bought something at H-E-B. I got this over at H-E-B. You can't really see it here. I'm going to put it over in the GoPro. It's a bag of shredded Parmesan, right? It's in the refrigerated aisle. So maybe this has a better chance of tasting well on my pasta than the plastic jar stuff. We'll find out. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of the shredded Parmesan on top of the pasta. I'm going to get a good amount on there. Let's see how good this combination works. Okay, it's no Parmigiano Reggiano, but that is better. There's a nuttiness and a meatiness, if that makes any sense, to the bag of Parmesan that is much, much better than whatever's in that plastic container. It is missing some of the sharper notes of real Parmesan, but it does mix better, and I would much rather use that than the plastic jar. And this was cheaper up front than this, right? When it comes to cost per ounce, this is cheaper, but only by like 3 or 4 cents. This is cheaper up front and not that much more expensive per ounce than this. And this tastes much better. And expiration date on this, February 5th. Just for clarification, I'm filming this on September 26th. So this expires on February 5th of next year. The jar, the plastic jar, expires February 12th. So only by another week will this last more. This tastes better, it costs about the same, it lasts about the same. Go with this every time if you can and you're looking to make spaghetti on a budget. With that said, final notes. I do like the flavor of this sauce. I do wish it looked better, but I'm not disappointed. The pasta tastes really good, even though it is very cheap. I would actually say that out of everything here, where the cost mattered the least, it's the pasta. And I'm not going to say that there isn't something to be desired in that over this, but this cheap pasta has like good chew, good texture. If you put them both side by side, I may or may not have a hard time distinguishing what's what. And that's it, y'all. For our 3 major categories, we are done. Now, we just have one last thing we need to do, and that's to go crazy. All right, y'all, so here is what we're gonna do differently. For my sauce, I caved in and I decided to get San Marzano tomatoes. This is Kirkland brand San Marzano tomatoes though. So I got this at Costco. I got a 3-pack of these for 12 bucks. So $4 a can. I may or may not have been able to save a few extra cents by getting them that way. The prices of everything are gonna be all over the place. I'm getting these because my tomato sauce did not look appealing. I may have made that problem worse by blending my sauce. I actually looked that up, and it turns out that if you blend a sauce too much, you may introduce air bubbles into it. You aerate the sauce, and it comes out with a lighter color. If I'm being honest though, the sauce kind of looked orange before I blended it up, so I feel like I was doomed from the start. I'm getting San Marzano tomatoes because I want that really nice red color, and I'm hoping that it tastes better as well. This also has a little bit of basil leaf in it, so it's already got some herb flavor in it. Now, I will still need olive oil for my sauce, and for that, I'm using this. This is a select olive oil blend from Portugal, and it was very expensive. I got it at Central Market for $18, I think. It tastes very good though. It's very buttery and it's very spicy. If you're looking for an olive oil to use that's good, I recommend Graza if you can find it, and if you can't find Graza, I recommend California Olive Ranch. That last one, you can find it pretty much everywhere. So here's what I'm gonna do for my sauce. I'm going to dice up a quarter of an onion very finely, and then I'm going to dice up very finely 2 cloves of garlic, and I'm gonna set them aside in their own bowls. Then I'm going to add my olive oil to my pot. I'm gonna heat it up, and then I'm gonna add my onions. Once my onions cook down for maybe a minute or 2, I'm gonna add the garlic, and I'm gonna cook that until fragrant. Then I'm going to add my jar of San Marzano tomatoes, and I'm gonna break everything down with a potato masher. Once I get the consistency I like, I will add salt, black pepper, Italian herb seasoning, and I'll mix that together. If I can avoid adding sugar, I will, but if my sauce needs sugar, I will add that too. I'm gonna stir all that together, and then I'm gonna cook it low and slow for about 25 minutes. Once it's all done, I'm gonna let it cool for a bit, and then I'm gonna store it in a container in my fridge for when I need it. Number 2, there really is no substitute for real Parmigiano Reggiano cheese, and I still have a big old block of this stuff left over from when I bought it, so for my cheese, I'm just gonna use this. And finally, for my pasta, I'm gonna make the biggest change yet. All right, yep, there you go. And, oh, Wrong way. Hey. Now that the gloves are off all the way, we are going to be making our own pasta with the help of my KitchenAid mixer. You've seen it in the background. It was only a matter of time before we used it. After I'm done giving this thing a good wipe, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use it to make our pasta dough. I have places to be tonight. I can't do the whole flour volcano with the eggs inside and the fork. As much as I want to, I got stuff to do. So we're going to use the KitchenAid mixer to make the dough in the bowl. Then we'll knead it a couple of times until it's nice and elastic. We'll wrap it in plastic to make it airtight, and we'll let it rest for 30 minutes. Then we're going to use the pasta rollers, and we're going to use our pasta cutter to make our own spaghetti, which we will then, right after, cook, serve with sauce, cover with cheese, and eat. Now, for this recipe, we're going to be using King Arthur pasta flour, custom blend. I figured I'd make it easy. And I might use a little bit of my fancy schmancy olive oil as well. All right, so first things first, in goes 3 cups of pasta flour. That's actually pretty close. That's a little bit over 1 cup. Y'all, I am caffeinated and I'm on my way. All right, 3 cups of flour in the bowl, raise it up. And now we'll go ahead and turn it on very, very slowly. Speed, I don't know, 1? Yep. All right, there we go. And then, as it moves, we'll add our eggs. Crack your eggs on a flat surface. All right, there goes 1, 2, 3. All right, so it's looking a little bit crumbly. We'll go ahead and bring the GoPro around so you can take a look. That's what it looks like right there. And I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit of olive oil to this to make it a little more wet. Not too much. And then I'm going to turn the speed up by 1. All right, y'all, I have perhaps screwed myself. It was 2 cups of flour and 3 eggs. And instead I had 3 cups of flour and 3 eggs. I'm gonna add another egg. Actually, you know what I'm gonna do? Listen, this is cooking, it happens all the time. I'm gonna take an egg, 1 more egg, I'm gonna scramble it up, and I'm gonna add it in a little bit over time to this dough until I see the right consistency. Because I thought I was going crazy for a bit. I was like, why isn't it getting more solid? Why does it still look crumbly? It's because I made a mistake. I'm the one who's wrong here. All right, y'all, here we go. Got my egg. I have 1 spare egg left over as well in case we need to. I'm just gonna go ahead, give that a crack, put it in my bowl. There's a fork in my bowl. Toss this aside. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and start scrambling this up. I think that's fairly mixed up. Yeah, that looks pretty good. We're gonna go ahead and turn this back on speed 2. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna drop it to speed 1. There we go. And then I'm gonna slowly add the egg. All right, y'all, I stopped the mixture after adding the entire egg into the bowl. And I have what looks to be a crumbly dough ball, but it's got some nice firmness to it. So the recipe directions that I've seen online for using the KitchenAid mixer to make pasta dough say to use the dough hook. I don't think we need the dough hook. I think we can knead this by hand. I think the dough hook would just get in the way. So let's go ahead and put this aside. Let's knead this into a nice elastic pasta ball. Then we'll wrap it in plastic wrap and set it aside for 30 minutes in the fridge. All right, y'all, here we go. Here's our dough ball. We're gonna go ahead, we're gonna flour our surface that we'll be kneading on. This isn't a whole lot of surface, but I'm hoping that it's good enough. All right, so the way that I've seen to knead this is you're supposed to roll it towards yourself, push it down, turn it, fold it in half, and then push again. This is gonna take a while. I'm gonna go ahead and stop recording and then come back. So I have been pressing on this with both hands for a little bit now, and then folding it over. And I've got a nice little dough ball here. Now the test that I have seen online to see whether or not the dough is ready is to press on it, and if it springs back, that means that it's ready. Okay, my dough ball has rested for 30 minutes. I'm going to now take my knife. I'm gonna cut it into quarters. Ooh, man, That has some toughness to it. There we go. Nice. All right. And there we go. All right. Now I'm only going to use one of these. The other three I am putting away. I'm going to put them in the Ziploc bag and try and wrap them up as airtight as possible, with as little air in the bag as possible. I might even freeze it. The reason being is that, again, I'm just cooking for myself, and this is going to be plenty of pasta for just me. So really try and take all the air out of this bag, zip it up, and then this is going in the fridge. So with our quarter of dough, we are going to flatten this out a little bit with our hands. Get a nice shape going. I'm gonna dust it down a little bit with some of this flour that I've got here. I'm going to feed it into the pasta roller at speed 2. Right now it is on the thickest setting, which for the KitchenAid attachment is 1. So thickness of 1, speed setting of 2. And then we're gonna roll it out on the thickest setting maybe 2-3 times. Once that's done, we're gonna decrease the thickness and we're gonna go as far as 6. There are some recipes that say to go all the way down to the absolute thinnest setting. I'm not for that. I want my pasta to be a little bit thick. Speed 2, setting 1, give it a little bit of a dust. Okay, please work, please work. Whoa, look at that. All right, we got a nice little pasta sheet. Now the directions say that we're supposed to fold it, so we make another rectangular shape, and that we need to dust it. So first let's fold it. Let's give it another bit of a dust with some flour. Let's kind of press it down a little bit. Now the dusting keeps it from sticking inside the roller. And when we cut it, we're gonna have to do the same thing. Get kind of a nice rectangular shape. And there we go. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and try to decrease the thickness. And this pasta sheet is gonna get pretty long over the course of this whole process. And there's no need to be repetitive about it, so I'll probably stop recording until I get down to setting 5 and 6. All right, y'all, I just got done rolling my pasta through setting 5 on the thickness, and you can see that our pasta sheet is very long now. It is very, very long. I think we'll go down by one more setting to setting 6, and then after that, we will cut it into shorter sheets, and then we'll be ready to run it through our spaghetti cutter. The last thickness setting on our journey. Look at this thing. This is huge. Here, I'm gonna actually set it down. All right, turn that off. This thing is ginormous. Okay, but I'll go ahead and, as best as I can. It feels, it looks like it would be fragile, but in my hands, it actually does feel somewhat sturdy. Like I'm not worried about it crumbling apart and breaking. Although my knife, it's on top of my knife. Please, knife, come over here. Okay, great. So we're gonna cut this into shorter sections. I'd say we'll cut it in thirds. So I'll go ahead and cut it here. We'll make that one. Perfect. And then I will go ahead and take here. Oh, we might have a section that's shorter than the others, but listen, this is cooking. And I never claim to be perfect. I think the first cut was the prettiest because it's the longest, so we'll go ahead and use that. We'll go ahead and take this out, place our pasta cutter in. All right, our dough has been dusted quite well. Moment of truth. The KitchenAid manual says to run the spaghetti cutter at setting 7, at speed setting 7. So we're gonna go pretty fast. All right, here we go. Moment of truth. Oh my God. Oh, that was a mess. But oh my God. Oh my God. Look at that. Look at that, look at that, look at that. And they'd actually, look at this, y'all. Here, I'll bring the GoPro around so that we can get a closer look. Look at this. Look at this. Oh, I gotta be careful not to get it all tangled up. I might have already failed in that goal, but look at this. This is incredible. All right, y'all. We're gonna go ahead and finish, put that down, with the other two sheets. This pasta is gonna cook very, very quickly. It's only gonna take about 4 minutes of boiling water time. So we will have our spaghetti down in a very short amount of time. So I'll go ahead and stop recording, and then when I turn the camera back on, I'll be over in the kitchen. All right, y'all, I've got my pot of salted boiling water ready to go. I've got my spaghetti here. This is gonna cook very, very fast. I might drop some of this on the floor. Oh boy, here we go. Again, pray to all the gods. Let's go, let's go, let's go quickly. We don't have time to waste. Quickly, 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 quickly. Drop it in there, drop it in there. Oh, casualty. All right, great. Set this down. Okay, I've got my Amazon smart speaker, you know which one, with a timer for 4 minutes, and I'm stirring. Looks nice so far. You know what? I'm gonna try a fork test. Very, very quickly, I'm gonna try a fork test. Oh boy. Tastes amazing. Ooh, that cooks very fast. No, I've been using the fork to taste strands as I'm stirring, just to make sure that these aren't overcooking. I want them to be chewy. I do not want them to turn into mush. This is intense. I didn't think making spaghetti could be such a anxiety-inducing experience. Fork test. Oh, it's all floating to the top now. Interesting. Okay, time's up. Take it off the heat. And then, not only that, we have to rinse it with cold water. Now, the directions on the King Arthur pasta bag say to let it rest in the colander for 10 minutes. So while that's resting, I'm gonna go ahead and heat up my pasta sauce. Now, I only have a very small serving of spaghetti sauce because, again, I'm just cooking for me. This will heat up in like 3 minutes flat. So once we get close to 10 minutes, heat this up, plate it, shred cheese on top of it, and then this whole odyssey can come to a glorious close. All right, y'all. The pasta has rested. It has drained completely. The spaghetti sauce is heating up. It's steaming a bit. I'm gonna go ahead and turn off the heat. Just gonna go ahead and pour that all over what I got down here, making sure to get every single bit of it off of the pan. For the finishing touch, take this cheese, shred it on top. Actually, let's go ahead and put a bit more on the outside. I like Parmesan cheese. And here we go. Let me go ahead and get a nice look over here in the GoPro. There we go. All right, y'all. This is the moment we've all been building up to. Homemade sauce, homemade pasta, real Parmigiano Reggiano cheese. Oh my God. Yeah. Noodle hanging out of my face and everything. That is incredible. The chew of the homemade pasta is amazing. It's got a little bit of bready flavor in it. I can taste some of the olive oil as well that I use for both the sauce and in the pasta. And then of course the cheese. The cheese blends nicely. The cheese does not stand out too much on its own. It mixes together with everything and it complements all the other flavors. So there we go, y'all. This is the culmination of 2 to 3 days of hard work. I learned something from every single step. I learned a lot about what makes a good spaghetti sauce. I learned a lot about what makes a good spaghetti pasta. I learned a lot about cheese. Was everything that I did ultimately worth it? Yes, I would say so. This is the best plate of spaghetti I've ever made in my entire life. Is this something I could do all the time? No. Do I understand the value of the things that I can buy to make this faster? Yes, I do. And have I developed tastes that are too good for the budget stuff that you buy at the store? No. In fact, I have a better appreciation for the cheapest sauce and cheapest noodles you can get because they stand on their own, right? They may not be as good as this, but they stand up on their own. And like I said, they are the closest that some people will ever get to having a plate like this. I hope you learned something as well. I hope you can take some of these lessons and apply them on your own if you're as big a fan of cooking as I am. And I hope that I gave you something that you've never been able to find somewhere else. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate it. If you like what I do here, please put a like on this video. Please subscribe to my channel. There are more videos coming. This was the first episode. And if I get enough enthusiasm on this episode, if it really feels like people want to watch this, I've got a whole bunch of ideas. I've got enough for maybe a year, 2 years of running this show. So if you enjoyed what you saw here, if you enjoyed anything about it, please leave a comment. Please put a like. Please leave as much feedback as possible so that I can continue making more cheap, fast, good episodes. Thank you all so much for watching. Go out there and cook something fantastic, and I will see you all next time.